So next up, we get. Listen, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it doesn't deserve time. We get this Universal title match. This look, I'm gonna just put it in perspective. I can't take this seriously. I think this is a joke for everybody involved. I don't even know why they did this. And like we talked about via text message, every segment leading up to this match was like Vince as a kid, basically. Like I think Vince shot his load, watching this whole segment and everything that led up to this. It's just embarrassing. Nobody wins in this. Miz and Morrison look worse. I mean, it's just what do you get out of this?
Ah, who knows? And as we said before, the theme is Vince McMahon's mercurial mindset is to booking. And you could tell when he hired Bischoff to run SmackDown and then he hired Heyman to run Raw. You could tell that it was because, like I said a little earlier, that he was running the XFL. He needed somebody to kind of stoke the fires of both shows until he could potentially get back and do the show. Bischoff showed that he wasn't able to run SmackDown, so they put in Bruce Pritchard. We saw what happened with Heyman. He's no longer running Raw. Pritchard is now running both. So through Pritchard is McMahon. And that's basically why he's doing everything. He's got more time now that there's no XFL, so he can put his own hand on both shows, and then Pritchard will just filter through him, kind of like a conduit from McMahon through Pritchard to put his stamp on both shows. And I'll guarantee you, everything that's happened on this show had something to do with Vince putting his handprint on everything.
Oh, without question. I imagine whatever wasn't taped. Again, it's been sketchy. What's taped? What's live? Who the hell really knows? But I'm inclined to believe that he switched a lot of stuff on this show, and not for the better.
Wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised at all.
So I'll say this. I think the sad part about this whole thing, in terms of this tag team, and when you lose to one guy, first of all, don't forget, this is former tag team champions going against your Universal Champion. A guy who essentially was a joke for a long time in this company, let's be fair, and how poorly Braun Strowman was booked. And then all of a sudden, Bray Wyatt has the kid, so now he's out of the picture. They put the title on him. And this whole now, of course, dating back to the incident with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, of course. But and Goldberg, it's crazy everything that transpired here for Braun Strowman to become champion. When, if you remember, when Braun Strowman was hot, and when everyone wanted him to become champion, they wouldn't pull the trigger and give him the title against Brock Lesnar. And now he's the champion.
Just right? Remember, just to put this into perspective, Braun Strowman, was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago, was in WrestleMania match with a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old and won the tag team championships with an 11-year-old. That should put the perspective as to what they think of Braun Strowman and how far he had to fall before they had no choice but for Haley's Comet to come flying through, which only happens once every 86 years, for everything to align right for him to be the champion and go in and not even be in the main event of the pay-per-view. His match is the third match out of 6 matches, or 7 if you want to call them that, of the card.
Right. It's unbelievable. Look, more stuff in this match, just in terms of my thoughts going in. Look, I really think the sad part is Morrison here. I think he deserves better. When you look at his career, especially when he left WWE and he went to Lucha Underground and he was a star in Lucha Underground. He went to Impact. I believe he was the champion, albeit briefly. Then he comes back to WWE, and you think about John Morrison. Okay, well, let's get this guy into the main title picture. He could be a champion. Look at it. Just look at the guy. He exudes main event superstar talent, and he's booked in this garbage. Now, I don't know what the future holds for him, but he's let's be fair here. I know people have opinions on The Miz, as do I. He's on another level than The Miz. The Miz is trash compared to John Morrison. I don't know what you think about that.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Every time that I see Morrison wrestle, I think of, like you just said, star. He's, 40 now? 39, 40? and he's still a parkour. He looks great physique, very athletic, very good in ring. He's had some of the great matches that I've seen this decade, some really, really good matches. And the fact that to strap him with The Miz, who is probably the safest, most milk toast guy, but mostly because he's wrestle safe, he's good for the company, he's a company man, he's not going anywhere, is the reasoning behind all of that. And remember, there was a time when nobody in the company liked The Miz. As a matter of fact, he went through the wrestler's court, as we've all heard of, backstage with The Undertaker or hearing whatever grievance it is with all of the other wrestlers. Nobody wanted to be around The Miz for about a year. He had to dress in another dressing room until he learned what the company was about. So that's to show you what kind of wrestler Miz has become up to this point. Morrison has never gone through any of that stuff, and yet he's strapped with this. I don't get it.
No, it's crap. I mean, the biggest thing I've always said about The Miz, and just put in perspective as a wrestling fan, if you have never seen a Miz match, you're not missing anything. That's just my take. I mean, you want to say he's had a match here and there. I don't think he's led the match. My point is you're not missing anything. And I'll say this, that music video at the beginning was, I mean, abortion is an understatement. The fact that someone got paid for that, just as someone got paid for that segment on SmackDown 2 weeks ago with the pool crap with Mandy and Otis, people are making money. And this is the worst produced stuff you'll ever see in your life.
I don't know. And what makes it worse is to hear Corey Graves repeatedly singing that nonsense during the broadcast, which I understand he's supposed to be an annoying heel, but come on. There's a difference between being annoying and got to the point where I remember telling you, I almost shut off the pay-per-view. If it wasn't for that, I had to stomach going through all of that to get to where we are. But a couple of things in the match that really kind of started a trend here. Did you notice the amount of one counts as far as matches were going? Even deep into a match where we get maybe to the halfway point of the match and wrestlers are kicking out at one.
I didn't notice that, but it says a lot about people selling anything.
Yeah, and the thing that I know is a pet peeve with you, because you talked with me about this. There was a spot where Morrison and Miz hit Braun Strowman with a double DDT, and he kicked out at one. And I don't understand how. I understand moves as you get along within the time frame of wrestling. Certain moves that were finishers become ordinary moves. But how does a double DDT kick out a 2.5, but a 1 count? Makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing stinks just in terms of how you're booking 2 against 1. Like I said earlier, nobody wins in this. It's just absurd. And then on top of it, if you listen to the beginning of the match when they announced that that initially, like Morrison and Miz, I guess they thought if they won, they would be co-champions. But then they learned that it would only be one champion, whoever pinned Strowman. Imagine announcing that right beforehand, how stupid they are. It's just ridiculous. And furthermore, I mean, when you have your former tag champs bumping around like this, they ended up, let's be fair, they looked like 1980s jobbers. I mean, and you knew who was going to win the match.
Exactly. They looked like inexperienced bumpkins from the Mid-Atlantic region. And the worst part about it is when they had a chance, I think Morrison had the chance to win the match. And then the Miz yanked his partner off of him. And there's like, okay, I see where this is going, which usually looks like a tease of a team breakup. But that wasn't the case. So I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with this, but it just did not look good. The match was not good at all.
At the end of the day, nobody cares. You might as well stick 2 masks on them and call them the fucking ding-dongs.
Put some bells on them too, right?
Fucking joke, man. I'm telling you. So, okay, the only thing I'll say about the what's going to happen and the fact that Bray's still out with the whole kid situation, obviously we're going to build towards that next. I don't know when Bray's coming back exactly, but we know, I believe, it's going to lead towards the Fiend against Strowman at SummerSlam, and then we finally get the title back on Bray.
And